Well, good evening everyone, and welcome back. Cumberland Outdoorsman here with you again, and tonight I've got a little project going on that I wanted to share with you. I'm sorry that I haven't posted any videos lately, but I've been somewhat under the weather. Not sure what was wrong with me. I just got sick, and my wife had it too, but could have been COVID, I'm not even sure. But anyway, I'm glad to say I'm recovered, well over it, and back to business. And like I said, I've got a little project going on, and what I'm going to be doing tonight is I'm going to be showing you how I jewel a rifle bolt. I'm working on a K98 Mauser. This is a military action that has been sporterized actually before I got it. And what I did is I went ahead and altered the bolt handle here so that it would clear the scope, and I cleaned and polished the metal here down to a mirror finish, as you can see. And what we're going to do is we're going to lay down a pattern of tiny circular marks in straight rows all the way around the bolt. And what that looks like is something that I'm sure that many of you are familiar with. Here is a Remington Model 700 that comes factory with a jeweled bolt. I'll go ahead and take it out of the action here just to give you a closer look. This is factory done. As you can see, there are rows and rows of tiny circular marks all the way around that bolt. And usually, especially nowadays, you don't see that very often, but you only see it on the higher grade of guns anymore. You know, you just don't, it's not a common practice because it's yet another step in producing a high quality sporting arm. Usually just see this on hunting rifles, you know, anything used for deer hunting or elk hunting or whatever. And the higher grade guns like these Remingtons or Winchesters or Weatherbys. You know, Weatherbys have a very nice jeweling pattern on their bolts. But I've got one here that I've shared with you in the past that I've done by myself. This is another Mauser K98 action. I'll go ahead and take this bolt out. There you can see the jeweling pattern on this bolt all the way around. And what this does is it kind of cuts down on the glare a little bit and makes it more suitable for hunting. And not only does it add a nice classic look to any firearm, any bolt action, but it also actually provides a slicker operating action, you know, a quieter and smoother operating action, because the little tiny circular marks that you're inscribing onto the bolt actually hold oil. And that oil aids in the smooth operation of that bolt sliding in and out of the action. So what I've got here is this K98 action that belonged to a friend of mine that's passed away now. And I kind of got possession of this old gun because of sentimental reasons. And I thought I'd go ahead and just clean it up a little bit and do the honor of jeweling this rifle bolt. What we're going to have to do first, of course, is remove the cocking piece and the firing pin. I just put it back into the action just to show you that that's what it goes in. The Mauser 98 action is probably one of the most popular actions for sporterizing. But if you own an original old K98 Mauser, the collector's value has gone up so much now that it's probably best not to alter them. You know, leave them in original condition for collectors. But if you've got one that's not original or has been altered in any way, then this is just fine. You know, if you want to sporterize a K98 action, then they're very well suited to that. Here I've got a book, it's called Rifle Smithing. And in this book they cover so many different aspects to sporterize these old military actions, to take them out of military service or military use and turn them into a sporting arm, something used for hunting or for target shooting, or just to have a really nice fine firearm. You know, very well made custom gun that you simply just can't go out and buy. Something that's suited to the individual hunter or shooter himself, and some of them are very elaborate. But in this book it shows you how to use a B-square bolt jig, and I devised a way of making a bolt jig that holds the bolt firmly and that you can actually apply the pattern of jeweling in absolutely straight rows, and you can turn the bolt and then just keep going. Turn the bolt at even increments all the way around and get a really beautiful jeweling job. So without further ado, let me show you what I've got here. This is a bolt jeweling jig that I made, almost 30 years ago, I guess. And as you can see here, there's a guide right there that has evenly spaced teeth that I filed into this aluminum, and it's absolutely straight, perfectly straight. And what this guide does, it allows you to apply the jeweling pattern on the bolt in nice straight rows. So I already know these guns are unloaded, but just for safety's sake, we'll make sure that they are unloaded. As you can see, everything's empty. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is remove the firing pin and the cocking piece off of this bolt. We'll lay this barrel action aside. We're not going to need it right now. I've got a wooden stock coming for that barreled action as well, because I just don't like the original military stock that came with it. Somebody's altered it, and it's really too straight and cumbersome for sporting use, in my opinion. But what I did on this bolt, I actually installed a side swing safety, just like the Winchester Model 70, where you move it to the rear and actually holds the cocking piece right here. The trigger mechanism does not employ the safety. It's actually on the bolt, so this is considered a true safety here. And the way you remove it is make sure that's on safe, then you depress this little button here on the side, and then you just simply unscrew it, and you've got the firing pin and the cocking piece and the spring and everything all together, just like that. And then when you get ready to put it back together, all you have to do is screw it back in there and install it into the barreled action to be ready to be used. For now, I'm going to go ahead and relieve the pressure on this spring here. This is the main spring, and I'm going to be doing that here on my vise. Just stick it in the vise. You don't want to cinch it down real hard, just enough to hold it here. And then slide the safety forward. Now the pressure is off of that spring, and you can lay it aside. You'll have to recock this firing pin to be able to get it back in the bolt when the time comes. So what I did first is I polished this bolt to a mirror finish, as you can see. I mean, it's absolutely glistening. But we don't want a really bright bolt like that in the action, because sometimes something really bright like that could spook game animals. But I wanted to do the jeweling job on this anyway, and it'll cut down on some of the glare. You'll still have this bright part of the handle here. I'm not going to jewel that. I'm just going to leave that alone the way it is. But I'm going to go ahead and jewel this whole bolt body, and I'll show you exactly how I do that right now. What you'll need is something similar to what I've got here, what I just showed you here. This bolt jeweling jig. Go ahead and get it clamped into the vise. You'll need a bolt like this to screw into the back end of the bolt body with a dimple drilled right into the center of that bolt head. Okay? And then what we'll do is I'll go ahead and install the bolt into the jig here. You can move this up or down or back and forth however you want to. Just make sure you get it all centered up. You want to center the front of the jig with the firing pin hole so that the bolt is held in absolutely straight position, just like that. You can rotate it around as you progress with your work. Okay? So the first step, like I said, is getting this bolt absolutely bright, polished bright. I went with 400 grit down to 600 grit, and then on a buffing wheel I buffed the whole bolt out until all the irregularities were out of it. Okay, they were gone. Then what you're going to need is some valve grinding compound. This is fine valve grinding compound. You don't want to use the coarse, make sure you use the fine. Fine grade valve grinding compound. It's just a paste pretty much that you apply it to the bolt, and then you just smear it on there nice and even all over the bolt where you will be doing your jeweling. All of this is going to have to be removed after you're done because it's very abrasive. Okay, it'll cut into the metal. Don't want none of that left on the bolt hand or on the bolt itself, on the bolt body. Put a little bit more on here. There's one brand that I could mention of valve grinding compound. It's called Clover. And they come in little bottles, or in little cans. Like, I don't have any of that here. I just got it in a tube, but it's pretty much the same stuff. Make sure you get it spread all over where you want to do your jeweling. Don't want to leave any bare spots. Okay. Now we'll go ahead and put the bolt back into the jeweling jig, into the bolt jig here, making sure everything's centered up. Okay, the next thing you're going to need is one of these little steel brushes made by Dremel. Okay, and a drill. Here I've got a cordless drill. Makes it pretty handy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start on the bottom of this bolt and then work my way around. Okay? Work my way all the way around until I get to the top. And by using this guide here, I'll be going all the way down and making rows evenly spaced all the way around the bolt. Let me give you a close-up here. Okay, make sure everything's good and tight. Don't want anything to move here. And I'm going to start from right here and just work my way down. Just like that. Don't skip any of the teeth. Make sure you stay in line, and you don't want to cant the drill anyway. You want it nice and straight. You can also do this on a drill press, by the way, you know. Let me give you a different angle here, that way you can see it a little bit better. Oh, that lighting's not too good. Okay, now, got a little bit better lighting. You can see here exactly how I do this. Make sure your bit stays tight. Okay, I got the first row done here. Now I'm going to rotate the bolt. Just a few degrees, and what you want is you want the circles to slightly overlap. Okay? Okay. There's the first two rows. Now I'm going to go ahead and start on the next row. Once again, you want it slightly overlapping. You want all your lines to be evenly spaced. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this out, and then I'll show you the final result. Okay, now I'm to a point where I had to take the bolt out because the bolt handle was interfering with the jig, so I have to turn the bolt around. And because these screws are adjustable to move the bolt up and down or back and forth, however you want to, I'm now able to put the bolt back in there and finish the job. Once again, make sure you're centered up. I'm going to go ahead and also jewel this extractor claw. It's a very large piece of metal that's right on the edge of the opening of the action. And it was also polished to a mirror finish. And I'm going to go ahead and jewel that now, and then I'll go back and rotate it and finish jeweling the rest of the bolt. One thing I forgot to mention, always make sure you start at one end of the bolt. Like, for example, on this bolt I started from the front and moved to the rear. If you start from the rear and move to the front, then you need to continue that pattern all the way around. Don't go from front to rear and then from one side to the other. You know, don't mix it up. Keep your pattern uniform. Okay folks, now I've got this bolt completed, jeweled all the way around. Make sure we don't have any gaps or any spaces that we didn't cover. So now it's time to clean all of this abrasive material off. And you don't want to wipe it off, you want to use a solvent to get it off. Because if you wipe it off, it'll cause scratches. We'll go ahead and move our jeweling jig here. What I use to clean it off with is just brake cleaner. You can use carburetor cleaner or any kind of other solvent, really. So I'm going to go ahead and get a bowl and we'll clean all this abrasive material off. And we'll see what we came up with here. Okay, now it's time to clean all this stuff off. Don't want to leave any of that behind. I'll go ahead and break it down with this brake cleaner here. I think you can see the pattern starting to come through now. That looks pretty good, folks. That's what a jeweled rifle bolt is supposed to look like. Alright, now I'm going to rinse it under hot water. Make sure I get everything flushed out. Now that I've got it broken down with the brake cleaner, I want to make sure the bolt is all the way free of this stuff. You don't want to leave any of that behind, because as you work the bolt in the action, it's going to wear down the metal. So we want to make sure all that stuff's gone. Okay, now I'm back again here with this bolt that I've cleaned off, that we just got done jeweling here. And it's time to put the extractor claw back on. I took the liberty of taking it off when I was cleaning it, but it's fairly easy to take off. You just have to get it off of this retaining ring, which goes around the bolt body, just like that. Okay. Make sure that's clamped together real good. And you want to line it up with this ridge right here. This aligns the extractor claw. Take a small pair of vice grips like that, and we'll hold it in place. Pretty much like that right there. Okay. And then this bottom part of this extractor claw engages that raised up part of the ring, your retainer ring, and you just snap it back into place, just like that. I'm going to go ahead and oil this really good. Oil everything on here really good, because I want to work it with a good coating of oil on it, and then I'll wipe it down once I get done. But there you pretty much have it, folks. That's how you jewel a rifle bolt. And it really alters the way it looks, I'll tell you, and gives it a nice classic look. So now I'm going to go ahead and put the firing pin and cocking piece back into the bolt. Recocking the safety here by pushing down on the mainspring. Screw it back together here. Now I'm going to go ahead and reinstall it into the action. And there we have it. That's a jeweled rifle bolt in a K98 action. Well, folks, now all I need is my stock to install the barreled action into, and this gun will be ready to be sighted in and used for deer hunting. This one here is in 308 caliber. Make a fine deer rifle. These little touches like jeweling the bolt and adding this side swing safety just make it so much nicer when you're out in the woods deer hunting, you know. And if you're interested in doing this to an old rifle that you have, you can make one of these jigs if you have any materials on hand. All this is a piece of angle iron. Okay, it was one solid piece of angle iron, about a foot long or so. And what I did is I cut out right here and then along the back about to a ½ an inch thickness right here. And then I drilled a hole on each side. After I bent in, I made another cut right here at this part and then bent it back like this, drilled holes and tapped it for these screws. And then I made the screws here and tapered them down so that they would center up with the bolt. And then this is just an aluminum plate that I screwed onto this jig, and I went by 1/8 inch increments. I marked it all the way down, and then I used a chainsaw file and filed the pattern into the edge of that aluminum so that all my rows would be nice and straight, and I could accomplish a nice looking jeweled rifle bolt. So anyway, like I say, you know, if you want that nice classic look of a jeweled rifle bolt, that's the reason I made this video, to kind of give you the answers on how that's accomplished. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll try to get outdoors and do a little bit more deer hunting. I've got some squirrel hunting videos coming up, so stay tuned for that. And you know, we'll be getting out and maybe doing some fishing as well. But this is one of those little projects in the wintertime when the weather's too cold or it's just too bad outside and you just want to do something like this. You know, it takes about an hour or so to do it correctly. After you get the bolt polished down, that takes some time now. You know, you're going to have to really work at that. But once you get the bolt polished down to a nice mirror finish like that, you can perform the jeweling job with one of these jigs. You can buy one of these jigs, or you can make one like I did and get nice professional results. Just watch what you're doing. So listen, I appreciate you coming along and watching the video, and I hope that you learned a little something from it. And remember, if you like to go hunting, fishing, camping, shooting, hiking, whatever it may be, I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. And also remember, make sure you hit the like button, hit that bell icon, and subscribe. That way you'll know when more videos like this will be coming your way. So until next time, this is the Cumberland Outdoorsman wishing you well, and I'll see you outdoors. Y'all take care.